On Sunday, someone looked at a couple and felt a pang in their chest. They saw the smiles, the intertwined hands, the shared glances, and then came the memory. It used to be like that with you. There were times when nothing else mattered except for each other's presence. And it was inevitable. Your name crossed their mind. Your laughter, your voice, the way things made sense when you were together. God made sure to remind this person of what they lost, what slipped away, what deep down is still missed. The heart felt heavy. The longing hit hard. But along with that came a certainty. Maybe it's not too late. Maybe there's still room for a fresh start, but there's a lack of courage. Courage to admit mistakes, to face what was left behind, and above all, to take the first step. The question now is, will pride speak louder, or will longing prevail? Time passed, but some things don't change. They may have tried to ignore it, moved on, filled their days with other conversations, other distractions. But the truth is that when night falls and silence settles in, the thoughts return. They always return. This time it wasn't a dream or a fleeting memory. It was real. It was a flutter in the chest when they saw that couple on Sunday, looking at each other the way it used to be. And no matter how hard they tried to look away to pretend it didn't matter, it was already too late. The heart had already recognized the absence, because it doesn't matter what happened. The words spoken in the heat of the moment, the hasty decisions. At the end of the day, what matters is not pride, not the mistakes. What matters is knowing that something true was lost, and now there's a choice, now. To press their lips together, move on as if nothing happened, wait for time to heal, even knowing that it has done nothing but push this absence into a deeper corner of the soul, or to admit that some stories don't end like that. Yes, mistakes were made. Yes, it might have seemed better for each of us to go our separate ways, but if it was truly meant to be that way, why does it still hurt? Why does the heart insist on remembering? God didn't bring back this memory by chance. It wasn't just a whim of the mind. It was a sign, a push to recognize that there's still something to be lived, that there are still words that need to be said, that there's still something there, even if it has been suffocated by time and distance. But nothing happens on its own. What are you going to do about it? Pretend you didn't feel anything? Hope that the other person's pride is less than yours? Bet that the other will take the initiative first? And what if it doesn't happen? What if time keeps passing, and one day you realize you waited too long? Nostalgia alone doesn't rebuild anything. Missing someone changes nothing. Just wanting doesn't bring them back. You need to do something. But do you have the courage? Because this might be the last chance. If you keep waiting, time will take it away. Life doesn't wait for those who hesitate. The opportunities that exist now may not exist tomorrow. And there's nothing more cruel than realizing too late that you could have done something and didn't. Because that's how it happens. Today there's still a path, a possibility, a crack in the fate. But what about later? When the other learns to live without you? When what was left of hope is replaced by the cold certainty that it's over? Are you going to carry that regret? Will you let pride be stronger than what you feel? God has already made it clear. He made sure to bring this memory back, not to torment, but to awaken, to show that there's still time. But time doesn't wait. If you keep postponing, at some point silence becomes the answer, and there's nothing heavier than knowing you could have said something, that you could have tried, but chose to remain silent. Don't be fooled. There is a limit to patience, to waiting, to someone else's hope, and that limit may be closer than you think. You know what you need to do. But will you have the courage? Because if you don't, someone else will. Someone who won't hesitate, who won't let doubt win, who won't squander what you're still weighing in terms of worth. And on that day, it might be you who looks at a couple and feels a tightness in your chest. But this time there will be no chance to turn back. And when that day comes, when you see that someone has taken the space that once belonged to you, what will you do? Will you pretend you don't feel anything? Will you convince yourself it was better this way? Or will you feel that lump in your throat, that sense of loss that can't be undone? Because the truth is this: eventually the waiting ends. Eventually the absence turns into acceptance. And when that happens, there will be nothing left to say. The other side won't stay there forever, waiting for a step that may never come. The heart that today still feels your absence might learn to beat to a different rhythm, may find peace in another embrace. And what about you? You'll carry that longing forever. God brought this memory to give you a chance. But a chance doesn't last forever. Time is passing. And the question remains the same. What will you do about it? Will you persist in silence? Will you let the fear of what might happen keep you from trying? Or will you make the one decision that can change everything? Because if you wait any longer, maybe longing will be all that's left, and longing alone won't build new beginnings, just memories of what could have been. And when all that remains are memories, they won't bring you peace. On the contrary, they will weigh on you like never before, turning into unanswered questions, restless nights, and scenes that replay in your mind without permission. Because nothing hurts more than knowing you could have done something and didn't. That you could have said something but chose to stay silent. That you could have tried but waited too long. So, what will you do when you see that the gaze that once sparkled for you now shines for someone else? When you realize that the hands that once reached for yours are now secure in another's, will you fool yourself into thinking it's already over? Will you pretend it was for the best? Or will you feel an emptiness that nothing else can fill? The time that seems like an ally today can turn into your greatest enemy. It can heal, yes, but it can also erase. And when what was left of hope transforms into indifference, nothing more can be done. And then when you finally decide to take action, it may already be too late. Perhaps that number still saved in your phone won't answer you anymore. Maybe that door that could still open today is already closed forever. So what will you do then? Will you live burdened by this weight? Or will you muster the courage while you still can? Because God has already given you the answer. It's just up to you to decide whether to ignore it or finally do something about it. And when you realize that you've waited too long, that you've postponed beyond the limit, that you've ignored the signs, what will be left? Regret. And regret is not gentle. It doesn't pass quickly. It doesn't fade with time. It settles in, grows, becomes a burden you carry in every thought, in every silence, in every moment where things could have been different. It will be like that when you look back and see that you had the chance in your hands and simply let it slip away. When you remember each moment, you could have sent a message, made a call, taken the initiative, but chose to do nothing. And then, what remains? The unanswered questions. What would have happened if you had tried? Would you still be together? Could it have been different? Did that story that started with such intensity really have to end this way? But then it will be too late. Time doesn't come back, opportunities don't wait, and people don't just stand around waiting for someone to decide if it's worth it or not. What was once longing becomes a definitive emptiness. What was once a space that could be filled is now a closed chapter. And there's nothing worse than realizing this when there's nothing more to be done. So the question that still needs to be answered is, are you going to let this happen? Are you going to keep waiting for time to decide for you? Or are you finally going to take action? Because before long there may be no choice left, only the certainty that you lost something that will never return. And when that certainty sets in, no excuses will provide relief. No justification will erase what has been lost. You may try to convince yourself it was fate, that things happened the way they should have. You can pretend you accepted it, keep yourself busy, even distract yourself. But deep down the question will still linger. What if you had done something? What if you had sent that message when you felt like it? What if you had been humble enough to admit your mistakes, to take a step without waiting for the other person? What would have happened if you hadn't let pride decide for you? But it's no longer useful to ask. Time, which could have been an ally, has become a sentence. What was once a space waiting to be filled is now an irreversible silence. What was once longing has turned into a definitive absence. And there's nothing more painful than watching someone move on while you are left behind, trapped by what you didn't have the courage to fix. So before that happens, look within yourself and be honest. There's still time. But not for long. What are you going to do with this last chance? Are you going to keep ignoring it? Or are you going to act before time decides for you? If you keep waiting, time will close that door right in front of you. And when that happens, there will be no turning back. Opportunities don't stay put forever. People don't wait endlessly. You might believe that there's still time, that someday you'll figure everything out, But what if that day never comes? What if the next time you feel like sending a message, you realize it no longer makes sense? And if, when you finally gather the courage, you find that the person you lost has already found another path, another companion, another reason to smile? What will you do then? Will you face the truth, or will you spend the rest of your life carrying that burden? Because the reality is this: either you do something now, or one day you'll look back and realize you lost something you'll never get back. And there's no point in deceiving yourself. It doesn't matter to say you're waiting for the right moment, that you need to think more, that maybe the other person should take the initiative. Time doesn't wait for your indecisions. You already know what you feel. You already know what you need to do. Now you just have to decide whether you'll have the courage to act, or if you'll accept losing for good. And when you realize you've lost, it won't be sudden. It will happen gradually in small details that used to go unnoticed. It will be in that notification that never came, in the absence of that name among your messages, in the silence that has become routine. It will be on the day you open social media and see a new photo, a smile that's no longer for you, a life that moved on without looking back. It will be when, on impulse, you search for the number in your contacts and hesitate before pressing the call button, because deep down you already know the answer might not come. It will be when, on an ordinary night, the thought creeps in unexpectedly, and your heart tightens in a way you can no longer ignore. And then you will understand. You will understand that you waited too long, that you could have tried, that you could have said something, that you could have done it differently. But you didn't do it, so now what? Now it might be too late. Maybe when you finally decide to speak, there will be no one left on the other side who wants to listen. Maybe when you reach out, there won't be anyone there to hold your hand. Maybe when you want to return, the door will already be closed. And the worst part? Knowing that you were the one who let this happen. Knowing that you had the chance to change this story but chose to do nothing. And from that moment on, there is no more choice, because time has already made that choice for you. And when time makes the choice for you, there is no turning back. What could have been fixed is now just a bitter memory of what was lost. What once was hope has turned into a definitive absence. And all that remains is the weight of regret, the anguish of knowing that you could have done something, but chose to wait. And time does not forgive. It follows its course, takes away opportunities, and when you least expect it, it's already too late. You might think there's still time, that one day you'll find the courage, that you can still fix everything when you want. But what if that day never comes? What if the next time you feel like sending a message, you realize it doesn't make sense anymore? What if, when you finally decide to speak, there is no one left on the other side who wants to listen? Because that's how it goes. What is nostalgia today may be indifference tomorrow. What still has a chance today might just be a closed chapter by tomorrow. So what now? What will you do when you realize you've waited too long? Will you accept that you let slip away something that once meant everything? Or will you finally take action before it's too late? God brought this memory to you for a reason. It wasn't just by chance, it wasn't a coincidence, it was a warning. But time will not wait for you to decide what to do. Now there's still time. Now there is still a chance to change the course of this story. But that chance won't last forever. So look within yourself and be honest. Are you going to keep pretending that you don't feel anything? Are you going to continue ignoring the longing that tightens in your chest? Will you let pride be stronger than what you feel? Or will you find the courage to send that message, take the first step, and salvage what can still be saved? Because silence is also an answer, and many times it's the answer that closes doors forever. Now, it's up to you. The question remains, will you take action, or will you let time decide for you? If this text resonates with you, if you've been through this or know someone who needs to hear this message, leave your comment. I want to know your thoughts. And before you go, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel for more content like this. Your interaction makes all the difference. Time is passing, and the decision is still yours, but it won't be for long.